Welcome back to Magic Muggle, a Harry Potter after show. I'm Eric, aka Mr. Honest, your host and your favorite Ravenclaw, broadcasting from the highest tower in Hogwarts. Sincerely, I love that intro. I'm gonna try and do that more often. I just forget sometimes. So today's episode is a little bit different in tone, and intentionally so. We're covering the Goblet of Fire, chapters 7 and 8, Bagman and Crouch, and the Quidditch World Cup. And what I want you to listen for in this episode isn't plot, it's pressure. Because these chapters are not just about getting to the match, they're about the wizarding world gathering in one place, showing off its size, its confidence, and its pride, all while quietly revealing how fragile its systems really are. This is definitely the biggest magical event we've been at so far in the series. So many wizards in one place, and Rowling does a great job of establishing how they're keeping muggles away, even integrating muggles into the show and getting to the tenth grounds and all that. I think it's really clever. I think this will be something that may be included in the books a little more in the next series, a little more in detail, I hope. That's what I'm hoping the series does in general, actually. Like, there's a lot of, so far, it's going to be in this book the most. But so far, there's certain scenes, chapters, moments, reconfigurations in the movies that don't necessarily reflect the book and its tone. Because one scene could change the tone of the whole show or the whole movie. So I'm hoping that they really kind of dig in on this one, because this is where it really starts to get optional on what you can use. They start the Goblet of Fire movie here. And there's a lot that takes place to get here, but it's mostly, I can't even call it filler. It's just establishing Harry back at the Dursleys. It seems essential to me for them to do that. And then to start the movie not doing that, it just felt like we were missing something. And I know I'm not trying to dogpile the movie. I just know it doesn't get the best reception from the fans of the series, because it's intentionally cutting the book so it could fit into the time of the movie. So we're going to talk a little bit about these chapters, and in light of what happens and the title of chapter 9, I won't even say it. You can go look it up, only because it's going to be a vibe. It's one of the longest chapters in the series, and I figured we do these two as a build up to that, so we can kind of appreciate these chapters for what they are and not letting chapter 9 kind of run the show. These chapters are the calm before something changes, and once you see the cracks, you can't unsee them. Let's start at the beginning with Chapter 7, Bagman and Crouch. Chapter 7 opens not with magic, but with administration. Harry, Ron, and Hermione arrive by Portkey on a misty moor, greeted by exhausted ministry officials with parchment, quills, and badly chosen muggle clothing. And that detail matters, because the wizarding world is trying to pass as normal, but it just really doesn't know how. For God's sake, Mr. Weasley, his job is to integrate muggles and what they do, and it's like muggle studies pretty much. And he even has trouble lighting a fire with a match in this chapter. From the start, this chapter is about containment. They meet Mr. Roberts, the Muggle campsite managers I was bringing up, only real Muggle for miles, honestly, and he is already noticing something's wrong. The crowds, the accents, the strange outfits, the way everyone seems connected. Somebody mentioned to me, what if the world of Harry Potter got exposed by the Muggles? And that's a whole different story. I think it might have been a YouTube title. I didn't listen to it. I'm trying to not go ahead to the future, even though I've seen the movies. I'm kind of trying to stay in the moment with the chapter of the book we're in, so I can kind of be along for the ride and let some things surprise me that I might have forgotten. So yeah, there's Muggles that are seeing things and they're obliviating their memories every couple hours, which is interesting. And I hope there's no brain damage in that. I'm not even kidding. I think about it, messing with somebody's brain for 8 times a day. But we're not going to worry too much about Mr. Roberts, the Muggle campsite manager. We're gonna move forward. Well, it's actually 10 times a day that they do this to Mr. Roberts. It's something that you kind of got to notice, but like move on. But then think, this is what they have to do to keep the world secret. And even though they're at a big outgathering event, this is what's probably planned and protocol to bring some Muggles in and obliviate their minds. That's not secrecy, that's dependency. The wizarding world isn't hidden here. It's propped up. And then comes the warning. Ludo Bagman isn't helping. He's walking around loudly about bludgers and quaffles, unconcerned with who hears him, which immediately tells us something important. Not everyone in charge understands the weight of what they're responsible for. As the Weasleys walk through the campsite, the world opens up. Hundreds of tents, wizards from everywhere, families, children, foreign languages, different customs. And the tents themselves, they tell a story, honestly. Some try to look ordinary, but can't resist chimneys. Others don't even try. Towers, turrets, peacocks, entire gardens. The wizards love to show off. Mr. Weasley says it plainly. We can't resist showing off when we get together. It's true, and that's pride, and pride is loud. The Weasleys' own tents are modest on the outside, enormous on the inside. Cozy, domestic, familiar, magic disguised as normalcy. We're not supposed to question all this too much, but it does make me wonder, how the hell do they do that? It's the rabbit in the hat trick. The magician never unveils his secret, and this secret is like, dude, is the inside of that tent in another dimension? I don't know. As a fan of Marvel, as a speculator, as a theorist, I'm very curious to how that magic works with the going into the tent and the inside being a giant house. It makes no sense, yet it's magic. So magic makes no sense sometimes. Arthur Weasley is thrilled, by the way. He loves doing things the Muggle way. Lighting fires, pitching tents, playing at normal life, without fully understanding how fragile the situation actually is. When Harry, Ron, and Hermione go for water, which is pretty far away, the wizarding world truly reveals itself. Tiny children with wands, toddlers on toy broomsticks, wizards arguing over what muggles actually wear, ministry officials constantly intervening. It's not malicious, but it is messy. This is a society trying to exist on top of another one without being seen. Back at camp, ministry officials stream past constantly. Goblin liaison, experimental charms, obliviators, unspeakables, and it all feels busy, stressed, and rushed. It's kind of like going to a baseball game, I'm assuming, like around the World Series. This is the World Quidditch Cup, and this is the magical community's main game. So there's going to be a lot of wizards and wishes. Then the chapter gives us its title characters. Ludo Bagman arrives like a burst of noise and color. Former Quidditch star, big smile, gambling gold in his pockets, and treating the entire event like the best day of his life. He's living his best wizard life. He encourages bets. He laughs at risk. He shrugs off consequences. Fred and George gamble their entire savings, and Bagman doesn't just allow it, he enables it. Even as their own father, Mr. Weasley, is trying to encourage them not to do that. Your mother will be mad. He did his best. He took the bet, and he even took one of the Weasleys' magic fake wands and gave them 5 more galleons worth. Is that what it is? He added it to their bet. This does come full circle in a little bit. Then comes the missing name, Bertha Jorkins. Gone, missing, forgotten. We've heard about Bertha Jorkins. We know that name from the very first chapter. We know as an audience that she was murdered by Wormtail. And Bagman dismisses it. She'll wander back eventually. That's his excuse. Kind of shows you the incompetence right there in front of your eyes. It makes you think a little bit. If I go missing, will anyone look? I mean, in this world at least. That's the danger of Bagman. Not cruelty, but carelessness. Serious things slide past him because they interrupt the fun. And then, Barty Crouch. Crouch is Bagman's opposite in every visible way. Perfectly dressed, perfectly controlled, obsessive about rules, procedure, and appearance. He runs logistics across continents, speaks countless languages, which I would love to do, and enforces the law without softness. And when Percy idolizes him, Crouch doesn't even remember his name. Bagman is too loose. Crouch is too rigid. 2 very different characters introduced here. And between those 2 extremes sits the Ministry of Magic. Powerful, organized, and quietly unbalanced. The chapter ends with a tease. Something big is coming to Hogwarts. Something planned. Something not yet announced. And yet already you can feel it. The world looks impressive, but it doesn't feel safe. And then comes Chapter 8, the Quidditch World Cup. Chapter 8, it's a spectacle. The walk through the woods, the roar of the crowd, the lantern-lit path, opening into a stadium so massive. The Wizards are so much about aesthetics and aesthetically pleasing, and I kind of appreciate that. That's why the vibe at Hogwarts is just so unique, and that's partially Rowling, but the writing is in there that the magical community, they like making spectacle, as we say. 100,000 witches and wizards at the Cup, golden light, advertisements flashing across the sky. It's not just a game. It's the Wizarding World at full volume. And the top box is its own statement of power. Here sit the ministry elite, foreign ministers, old money, political rivals, and tucked among them, Winky, a house elf terrified of heights, saving a seat because she was told to. That conversation with Winky matters deeply. She talks about Dobby, freedom gone wrong in her eyes, pay, choice, independence, all things that frighten her. And then she says it plainly. House elves are not supposed to have fun. That hurts. It makes me feel bad for her and for Dobby in a way, but it's nice to hear that Dobby's actually doing what he can to be free, and he's trying to earn compensation for his work, which is just completely not heard of in the Wizarding World. So the Wizarding World has its prejudice, something the Muggles have, I wish I could say, a little bit more under control, but it shows what carries over from Muggles to Wizards. This is the Wizarding World's moral blind spot, quietly placed in the best seats of the stadium. Then the box fills. Cornelius Fudge arrives, the Minister of Magic. He's so performative. And Lucius Malfoy, he arrives. And just as you'd expect, he's smug and untouchable. Draco Malfoy, he arrives already cruel. And Harry sees it clearly. Influence, money, and power sitting comfortably above the rest of the world. Then Ludo Bagman takes the mic. The mascots arrive, and this is where the chapter becomes about control. The Vila, they just don't dance, they enchant. They override reason, they turn admiration into compulsion. It's almost like they're putting a spell over the viewer. Even Harry feels it. Even Ron nearly loses himself. Something I didn't mention before in the last chapter, that Harry bought these like binoculars, magical binoculars, where you can watch like play-by-plays, replays, slow footage down. Ron watches a guy pick his nose over and over again. I think that's hilarious. And then the Irish mascots answer. Literal leprechauns, gold raining from the sky, illusion mistaken for wealth. Already, deception is part of the celebration. The match itself is relentless, fast, violent, and precise. Ireland's teamwork is flawless. Bulgaria's strength is raw. Victor Krum, a key player in this game, is terrifyingly brave, flying injured, bleeding, and refusing to stop. He's one of the youngest at all wizards to ever be on such a high-ranked Quidditch team, especially playing at the World Cup. And here's the quiet brilliance of the outcome. Ireland wins the cup because Krum catches the snitch. And we always talked about this from the first two books. How does Quidditch work with these point systems? Well, Krum knows they can't win, but he chooses how it ends. This could go on for days, and they could lose it to a game that takes 6 days to play because Krum just knows that they're gonna beat them. He's a smart wizard, and it's not stupidity, it's agency, if you ask me. The crowd celebrates, the anthem blares, gold falls from the sky. But beneath the noise, you can feel it again. Mascots turning violent, officials losing control, referees enchanted, crowds whipped into chaos. This was joy, barely held together. So, chapter 7 and 8 are about confidence. A world so sure of itself that it believes nothing can go wrong. The ministry convinced it has everything under control. A crowd celebrating while standing on fault lines. And that's why stopping here matters. Because once the lights go out, once the fear enters the campsite, this world will never feel the same again. Next time, we step into the Dark Mark. Not a spectacle, but as consequence. If you are enjoying Magic Muggle, make sure you're following the show wherever you listen. There's a link tree in our bio. If you want to support it directly, share this episode with someone you know who loves Harry Potter and wants to go deeper than the recap. If you want to support the show, we have a tip jar in the comments. And we are working on a community Discord for everything Mr. Honest. I have Marvel Maniac and MCU after show. We have Magic Muggle, a Harry Potter after show. And I'm now streaming on Twitch Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. We will be playing Hogwarts Legacy on there. I've started with Spider-Man. it will be great to see you there and have little conversations with you and talk about some of the stuff that we're talking about right now. Come on in and do not be afraid. Honestly, it's a great time. So, we have a little bit of calm, a little bit of celebration in this episode. Not the longest. Well, it's 15 minutes. I mean, I'm very into what happened here to show us the world, show us its weaknesses. And next week, we're going to go into some really dark territory, and it's going to change the series forever. So, let this sit with you for a week. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next time. And until then, wands down, hearts full.